Hey everybody, Sarah here from VidGamiac.com. Here we are today back in Roboquest going for the Log Collector achievement. This is to pick up every single data log in the game. The data logs are going to be another form of collectible. There's going to be a total of 51 of them. Now, since they don't really help you out in the game in any other meaningful way, I am going to recommend that you hold off and then try to go for them last. So I am going to recommend that you at least try to go for the power crystals first. That way you unlock every single one of the locked doors in the game. You're also going to need to have at least a jump mobility gadget, so bare minimum you're going to need to have the pogo stick. However, having the jetpack or the grappling hook is going to make things even easier. So make sure you try to use those if you have them available to you, which you should if you happen to go for all of the power crystals. So once you are ready to start tackling them, make sure you hop into the game. We're going to start out in the starting room in Canyons. There's actually going to be a few here that we can grab. Make sure you turn around so you're facing the background, and you're going to want to look up. There's going to be an antenna right here. You're going to want to platform up there, and then the antenna is going to have a compartment at the bottom. What you can do is you can open said compartment, and then inside is going to be the first data log. Make sure you grab it, and that should kick us off with a starting achievement. This is going to be the first one of the set for picking up our first one. This is going to give us 5 gamer score. Each one of the data logs is just going to give us some backstory, so feel free to read up on those if you're interested in the game's actual setting. Data log number 2 is going to be across the way, just above the starting door right here. It's going to be way easier to jetpack or to use a boosted jump to get over there. However, you are able to reach there without any power-ups by scaling the environment right here. Jump onto the cactus and then up here onto this ledge. Then do a big running double jump in order to get across, and then if you stick the landing, you should be able to get above the starting door and then grab collectible number 2 right over here next to these film reels. Once you have that one, just make sure you drop down and then grab your starting loadout as you normally would. You are going to want to have at least the shovel for this, so make sure you pick that one up. And then we're going to actually move into the first combat zone. Now, whenever you get into a combat zone, I am going to recommend that you clear out all of the enemies before tackling the collectibles, simply because that makes doing them a lot easier without any enemies trying to kill us. So make sure you do so. In general, the first collectible that you want to look for in the first combat zone of almost every level is going to be the one located at that level's campsite. The campsite is always going to be located up high, which is going to require that you have an upgraded jump. So make sure you use that to get up, or whatever jump mobility thing you're going to use, whether that be a rocket jump, the pogo stick, the grappling hook, the jetpack, etc. But once you get up high, you're going to definitely want to keep your eye out for the campsite. Because the level layouts are going to be always random, the actual location is going to change every time, but it should always be up high, and it is always going to require that you have a jump mobility feature in order to get to it. But nonetheless, find the campsite, and the collectible is always going to be located there. Now, while you are up high, you are going to want to head to above the exit door of the combat zone. This area is going to not be random, thankfully. It's going to be here regardless of whatever run you're doing. But to the right on the upper part, just above the exit door, is going to be this little campsite right here, which is actually going to be BuddyBot's house. And if you look right here in the corner, there's going to be a collectible that's going to explain to you his backstory. With those two out of the way, we're going to grab the final one in this area, which is going to be why we brought the shovel in. This is going to be the first of the 3 that's going to require us to go buried treasure hunting. So, randomly sprinkled around the map are going to be these dig sites. They're going to basically look like glowing stars. Make sure you switch over to the shovel, and if you happen to have the shovel in hand, you can actually dig these up, and they'll give you a random item. Now, of course, we are going to want to keep an eye out for the data log. Do keep in mind the dig site drops are going to be random, so this is going to require a little bit of luck. However, we're also going to need to do these dig sites in order to get another one of the gadgets in the form of the explorer slippers. So you're probably going to be doing this quite a bit, and thankfully this first area is going to be right next to the start of the game. So if you're luck isn't holding out, you can just restart the run and just keep looking for these dig sites until you get both of the things that you're going to need for achievements, the explorer slippers as well as this data log. As for the other two data logs that are going to be found under dig sites, I am going to recommend that you hold off until you get the metal detector before going for them, simply because they are going to be in later levels and not super close to the beginning. So I'm going to recommend once you find the explorer slippers and the data log that's going to be buried in canyons, you should be more than free to ditch the shovel at this point until you do get the metal detector. So with that out of the way, we should be done with that first combat area. Make sure you head into the safe room. Grab your loadout. You are also going to notice an NPC right here. Once you grab 5 data logs, make sure you talk to him, and he should give you the roller gadget, which is going to help you out with the inspector gadget achievement for finding all of the gadgets. Then he's going to upgrade your quest and ask you to find 35 data logs. So we're going to continue our path forward and then head down the Oasis path. So make sure you step through the door. This is going to take you to the second combat zone in Canyons, heading down the Oasis path. Now, another major landmark that's generally going to be the location of collectibles is going to be the combat zone that's going to be the closest to the boss room. Usually, they're going to contain an antenna that's going to be placed randomly. It's generally going to be closer to the boss room than from the entrance. So you want to make sure you pay attention to the scenery. Once you notice the antenna, make sure you head on over there, and we're just going to pop open the bottom compartment, and then inside is going to be our next data log. So make sure you do pay attention for these, as they are going to be a sign for collectibles. Once you grab that one, we're going to then push forward. We should be done with this area, so make sure you just go to the end level door, which is going to take you to Oasis for the start of Chapter 2. Alright, so first collectible in Oasis is going to be right here in the starting room. It's going to be behind the right waterfall. This is going to require that you have unlocked this door, which is going to require that you have Buddy Bot, so make sure you have that unlocked. Of course, this is going to be part of several achievements. But for the sake of these achievements, we're going to head in here to grab the data log right here off to the left. So make sure you pick that one up. Feel free to upgrade Buddy Bot if you're planning on using him for the rest of the run. And then we're going to carry on our merry way. Grab the rest of your loadout and make sure you head into the combat zone. Once you get to the combat zone, it is going to be a pretty big one, so make sure you try to thin it out the best you can. The first collectible is going to be, of course, the campsite. This one is going to be pretty luck dependent if you don't have the jetpack, as the level is going to have all this vegetation, which is going to make certain jump mobility things a little tougher than others. So I'm going to definitely recommend, bare minimum, you use the pogo stick. You might be able to reach up here with a rocket jump, however, it is going to be rather difficult, and then staying up here is going to be pretty difficult too, so try your best not to fall down once you do manage to get up. But once you are up, you want to make sure you scale the main area of the level, which is going to be this circular feature, and then eventually you should stumble across the campsite. Make sure you head down there and then grab the data log from it, and then we should be able to move on. For the next one, this one is going to be located in the secret area, so make sure you zip around the map until you notice the orange shaded area. Head on over there. We're going to head behind the waterfall to get into the hidden sanctuary. This is going to be where we brought the swim trunks to the NPC in order to get one of the gadgets. This is also going to be where we found the spear in order to unlock the ranger class. Make sure you look up and to the left. There's going to be a ledge right here that you need a boosted jump in order to get up there. So make sure you get up here by any other means. And then once you are up here, make sure you grab the collectible. And that's going to be another data log to our collection. Now, since there's only going to be one major combat area in Oasis, the other landmark is going to be here in the form of the antenna. So make sure you exit and then make sure you keep your eyes peeled for it. Again, it should be closer to the exit than it is to the entrance. So make sure you start at the entrance and make sure you just backtrack until you notice it. Once you do, make sure you head up to it, open up the compartment, and then grab the collectible from within. Once you have it, feel free to then leave this area and then head to the safe room. Once you're in here, make sure you grab your loadout. To the right of your camp is going to be this waterfall, and then right next to that is going to be the collectible to the left of this rock. So pick that one up, and then we're going to move on. We're going to stick to the main path, so make sure you head through the traditional door after getting your loadouts. You probably didn't make it here fast enough to get the option to go to the rift anyways, so just make sure you head through this door, and then we're going to keep punching it forward, and then get all the way to the end of the level by defeating the boss. That should take us to level 3 in the form of fields. Once we are here, we're going to be in the starting room. Make sure you turn around, and then we're going to need to scale up the wall right here. Once we are up here, we're going to need to get to the left side of the entrance. And then if you happen to stick to the wall, you're going to notice there's going to be a dip right here that's going to take you into this building. Once in here, you want to make sure you grab the collectible right here in this alcove, and that should be the first one of this level. Once you have that one, make sure you drop back down into the starting area. Make sure you grab your loadout as you normally would, and make sure you start the actual combat zone. Of course, this is going to be the first combat zone of this level, so we're going to keep our eyes peeled for the camp. It might be a little difficult to grab, especially if you are just jetpacking over the entirety of the level, as there are going to be obstacles that you can't jetpack over. So I'm going to recommend you try to tackle this on foot and then try to take things slow. You are probably going to find the camp just as you hit a stairwell going down and then towards the last part of this first combat zone. So just make sure you try to keep your eyes trained up, and if you happen to notice that flash, that's going to be where the camp is. So make sure you do stay vigilant, but once you do notice it, make sure you head on up here and then make sure you grab the collectible as you normally would. So once we have this one, we're going to stay in the combat area and then look for the purple shaded zone where the bonus corrupted area is going to be. Make sure you head on over there. You actually don't need to head inside. If you notice to the left, there's going to be a staircase right here that you can climb up, and then right here in this corner is going to be your next collectible. Thankfully, this one isn't going to require a boosted jump, so if you're doing this in the early on, you should be able to grab it without any problems. Then we're going to dip down and then push forward and then head to the safe room of the level right over here. Once in here, you're going to want to head through this door. Now, this door is going to be a locked door that's going to require you have the tech room key that you grabbed from the sewers in Ruins. So once you have this one open, you should be able to grab the collectible. It's going to be right next to this previously locked door. So you're going to need to jump into this vent and then make sure you crawl to the back and then dip down here to grab it. And that's going to be another data log to our collection. Once you have that, feel free to leave, grab your loadout, and then make sure you finish up the level. There's going to be several different paths you can take from this specific room. We're going to want to stick to the traditional path where we go forward through this particular door and then head all the way to Energy Center. So make sure you just stick to this path and make sure you get to Energy Center, as Energy Center is going to be the next level that actually has collectibles in it. So once at Energy Center, you're going to find the first collectible in the starting room. It's going to be behind the locked door. This is going to be the door that you need the combination for in order to get the Elementalist. So once you get this door open, make sure you head on inside. This is going to be where you grabbed the chromatic cell. If you look behind it, there's going to be a hole that you can drop down into it, and then crawl through the vents until you find the collectible right here. Once you have that, it's going to be back to the starting room, grab your loadout and stuff, and make sure you head into the actual level. Once you step foot through those doors, you're going to be in a combat zone, and of course, first combat zone of any level, first thing we need to look for is going to be the campsite, which is always going to be up high. So make sure you get up and then look for it, and then once you spot it, you should be able to grab the data log that is going to be nested inside. Make sure you grab it as you normally would. Then we're going to wrap up the first combat zone and then get to the first safe room. Once in the safe room, there's actually going to be 2 data logs in here that we can grab. We're going to start out with the easy one, so make sure you grab your loadout as you would, and then if you look to the right of the starting door, there's going to be this corner that we can wrap around, and then right here is going to be our collectible. The next one up is going to be behind a locked door. It's going to require that you have the tech lab key. So even though you don't need that key to 100% get the Elementalist, you should have gotten it on your way to get all of the power crystals. Nonetheless, once you have the key, make sure you unlock the door and then drop down into this hole. You should find the collectible right here, and that's going to be one more to our collection. We're then going to leave. Now, since the rest of the level is going to play differently depending on whatever elemental is going to be randomly given to you here, there's not going to be any collectibles in the next few combat zones. So just make sure you keep pushing your way forward until you get to the room just before the boss room. This is going to be the room where you would normally get your boss room loadout. Before you do any of that, look to your right, and then in this corner is going to be the next data log. So make sure you grab that one. Now, if you have been following us since the beginning, this is going to be the point where you should get the second achievement of the set for picking up 20 data logs. This one's going to be for 10 gamer score. So we should hit that nice milestone. We should be free to move forward and then defeat the boss as we normally would. This is going to eventually take us over to Haven City. So defeat the boss, make sure you get into the next level. This level is going to be quite a doozy as it is going to be the big open world level of the game. But before we get to any of that, we're going to tackle the collectible in the starting area. So make sure you head up here to the left and then grab it in this corner. Super duper easy, but does require that you have your jump boosted. So make sure you grab that, and then we're going to take a dip down, grab our loadout like normal, and then head into the level. Definitely recommend clearing out the level. It is going to take quite a while since this level is going to be ginormous, but once you have a clear path forward, we're going to work on the first collectible, which of course is going to be a campsite. Now, the whole level is going to be one big combat zone, so you are going to have to fly around a bit and then hope that you find the campsite. The location is always going to be random, so make sure you just try to keep an eye out for it as you are flying around. Definitely recommend having the jetpack at this point, since trying to walk and jump around the buildings is going to be quite cumbersome. But nonetheless, once you do spot that campsite, you should be able to grab the collectible right over here. Alright, next one up is going to be super annoying due to the randomness of the level layout. But make sure you open up your map, and then you're going to want to look for a corner of the map. Again, it's going to help that you filled out the map first by flying around to clear out the fog of war, but you're going to want to try to look for a corner that's going to be more squared shape. It's always going to be on the edge of the map, so you definitely want to make sure you circle the map's perimeter and then try to keep an eye out for it. You are going to have to be on land in order to spot it, as it's going to be pretty well hidden from the skies. But once you do notice that square-shaped corner, you're going to want to head over here. There should be a stack of boxes, and then next to that stack of boxes is going to be the collectible. So this one is going to be quite the needle in the haystack, so best of luck trying to find that one in the randomness. But once you have that one, we're going to then tackle all of the ones locked behind doors. So we're going to definitely need to get all the tickets in order to open up all of the doors in the city. And again, this is going to be under the assumption that you pick these up while trying to go for all of the power crystals. So first one up is going to be at the cinema, which is going to be the red shaded area. It's going to be in the back left corner right here between theaters 1 and 2 on this film reel cart. So make sure you grab that one. Then we're going to grab our loadout here and then leave off to the next building. This one is going to be the green shaded area, which is going to be the stadium. Make sure you head on inside, and the collectible is going to be directly behind you, just above the entrance. So make sure you go through the doors and then do a quick 180, and then just make sure you jump up and then pick it up. This one is going to require that you have a boosted jump to get up here, though, since there's no staircase that takes you up on to this little bit right here. So once you grab that, feel free to drop down and then upgrade your loadout, and then make sure you head back out onto the streets. Off to the next building we go. We're going to then head on over to the blue shaded building, which is going to be the art gallery. So make sure you use the ticket to open up the door and then head on inside. Once you are in here, this one is also going to be directly above the entrance. So make sure you 180 from the door, and then make sure you do a boosted jump to get up above the entrance and then on to this bit right here. And then once we're up here, we should be able to grab the collectible next to this corrupted block. So once we have that, we're going to drop down. Again, feel free to upgrade your loadout, and then we're going to be off to the next area. You are going to want to head to the orange area, or the secret area, and then once you are here, make sure you scale up the mountainside right here. You should notice a cave, and then inside said cave is going to be your next collectible right over here towards the entrance. So pick that one up, and then we're going to turn our attention to the locked door. This locked door is only going to be opened once you have all 6 power crystals. So by now you should definitely have all of them, and then once you do, you should be able to have access to the bot cave. and in here is actually going to be one of the data logs. This is also going to be where you happen to grab the grappling hook, so make sure you note that, and then make sure you grab this one out of this open case right here. And with that one out of the way, we should be done with Haven City. So off to the next level, make sure you head on over to the exit, and then make sure you make the jump over to District 13, which is going to be the furthest in the game that has any collectibles. So thankfully, there are going to be no collectibles on Moon. So while we are in District 13, we're going to grab our loadout as we would. Then we're going to jump in. There's not going to be any collectibles in the starting area, thankfully. Now, the way the level is going to play is there's going to be 2 corrupted bonus zones that we have to do. So make sure you make your way over to each of them. Each one of these doors is going to have a collectible within their proximity. So we're going to start out on the left side. This is going to be this corrupted zone that looks a little something like this. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure you look towards the entrance and then turn to your right. There's going to be a little area with some more boxes right here. Make sure you grab the collectible right here, and then you can tackle the corrupted bonus zone as you normally would, as it is going to be part of beating this level. Once you're done with that, we're going to need to get to the other side and then do the second one, which is going to be the right side from the starting entrance. So same deal. Make sure you look at the door. You're going to want to turn your attention to the left this time, and then right here next to these billboards is going to be this corner with some crates. Grab the collectible, and then we're going to tackle the actual bonus corrupted zone as we normally would. That should unlock the final door, which is going to get us to the next room right before the boss fight. So the room before the boss fight is going to have the final collectible in this level right here. You are going to need a boosted jump to get it. It's going to be on that ledge right here to our right. So make sure you do a big jump or fly up depending on whatever gadget you're using. And then while you're up here, make sure you grab the collectible, and that should wrap up this level. That should also wrap up this run, as that's going to be the most collectibles we can grab in this one particular run. So we are going to need to either restart or head back to base camp. Doesn't really matter since your collectibles are going to be saved either way. But make sure you start up a fresh run, and this time around we're going to take a different path and then grab the collectibles along the way that one. So make sure you grab your loadout, and then it's going to be off to the Canyon's safe room. Make sure you grab your loadout right there, and if you check in with the NPC, you're going to notice you're just about 4 short of getting the metal detector. So we should be at about 31 data logs so far. So we are still going to need a few more before we get the metal detector. So for this run, we're going to head down the shorter of the 2 paths first and tackle the ruins path. Once you get through the door, you're going to want to then turn around. You're going to notice the collectible is going to be above the entrance. This is going to require a little bit of platforming, or if you happen to have the jetpack by now, you should be able to fly directly there. Just make sure you get to the area directly above the entrance, and then right atop this crate should be your collectible. Once you have that, make sure you continue the path forward and then get to the actual ruins level. So just punch it straight, and then once we get to the exit, we should load in to the ruins starting area. Once we are here, we're going to then turn to our right. The first collectible of this level is going to be right here, and it's going to require that we jump up. So make sure you use a boosted jump or a jetpack up to get up here. Once you're up here, you're going to notice the collectible right here at this campsite, weirdly enough, in the starting area instead of the first combat area. But make sure you pick that one up, and then we're going to actually head into the combat zone. So make sure you drop down, and then make sure you grab your loadout from camp, and then make sure you actually get into the combat area through the door. Clear out all of the enemies, and then once you have a free moment, we're going to then head to the upper part of the level. You should be able to make it up there with a series of jumps, but once you're up there, you're going to notice these buildings as the level's background. You're going to need to get between these 2 buildings right here where this burnt out car is, and then right behind that is going to be your collectible, so make sure you grab that one. So once we have that one, we're going to then move forward, get to the next screen, which is going to be a horde mode area, and then get to the screen after that, which is going to be another combat area. Once there, we're going to need to head to the orange secret area, so make sure you look for the orange shaded part on your mini-map. Head over there, make sure you clear it out the best you can. We're going to need to head into the sewers, so make sure you go that way. This is going to be where you picked up the tech room key in order to get the quarry key, so you should have been here by now. If you still haven't disarmed the lasers, make sure you have a good chunk of health on you and just tank your way through. Once you get here, make sure you jump into the island in the middle of the water right here. There should be a dead body, and you can loot it for the collectible. So make sure you pick that one up, and that should be this area done with. Make sure you do not go forward into the scrapyard. Instead, you're going to turn around and head back through those lasers. We're going to need to continue on with the ruins level as we normally would. So make sure you get to the next door, which is going to take you to this safe room. Once you are here, you're going to find the collectible to the right in this little alcove right here. There should be a broken down wall, and then behind that is going to be another burnt out car. Next to that is going to be the collectible, so make sure you pick that one up. Then we're going to proceed forward into the next combat zone. A bunch of zones in this particular area, however, they are going to be all pretty short, thankfully. So it's going to be the same sequence as the first half of the level. We're going to have a combat zone, followed up by a horde mode zone, followed by a second combat zone. We're going to need to get to that later combat zone, so make sure you push your way forward until you get to this part of the level. Once you are here, make sure you clear out the enemies as you normally would. We're going to start out by heading to the bonus corrupted zone, which is going to be in this part of the level. So make sure you look for that purple shaded area. Head to the front of it, and again, your layout may be different since the game does randomly generate its levels, but your goal is to look around this area for a moss-covered pipe. It should look a little something like this. Its proximity to the bonus corrupted zone door may or may not be different depending on your playthrough. But nonetheless, once you notice that moss-covered pipe, make sure you jump inside, and then right here is going to be a very well-hidden collectible. The next one is going to be more traditional, and it's going to be an antenna one. However, the antenna placement is going to be a little all over the place since this particular combat zone is going to be very sprawling. So make sure you keep an eye out for it. Make sure you don't go too far, though. Make sure you do take note on where the exit is and then work backwards from there. But just make sure you look around all of the buildings up high and then keep an eye out for that antenna. This antenna is also going to be on the upper part of the level opposed to the lower part as it normally would be for other levels, so make sure you do keep that in mind. It is always going to be up high. So keep your eyes peeled, and then once you spot it, make sure you head on over to it, pop open that compartment, and then grab the goodie inside. Once you pocket that one, that should wrap it up for this level, as well as this run, since there aren't going to be anything beyond this point that we can grab. So make sure you do the old restart, or head back to base camp, and then start up a fresh run. Once we are here, we're going to proceed forward. We're going to head to the safe room in Canyons. We should be well past the 35 point right now, so do feel free to talk to that NPC. Once we do, with enough data logs, we should be granted the metal detector, which is going to be a gadget that is going to reveal any data logs on our minimap. So we should be able to spot them from farther away. But nonetheless, if you are still in need of help, do feel free to continue watching the rest of this guide all the way to the end. We're going to head over to the Quarry path next. So make sure you get through that door, and then we're going to push forward until we get to the level exit. We're going to find our collectible right above it, so we're going to need to do a boosted jump to get above the exit door, and then once we are up there, we're going to look to the right side, and then to the right side is going to be some construction, and then behind said construction is going to be our collectible. It is going to require us to crouch down to get underneath this grating right here, but you are going to then find the collectible right over here on this slab. Once you have that, make sure you head into the next level, which is going to be the quarry itself. So back outside and through that level exit into the quarry we go, and then off to more collectibles for us to grab. Alright, so in the quarry starting area, we're going to need to get above the entrance. So there's going to be this elevator shaft, and unfortunately we can't ride it up, so we're going to need to platform up there. You are going to need a boosted jump for this. You can make things a little bit easier by taking advantage of the natural geography here. However, you are still going to need a boosted jump to make that initial big jump. But once you do get up here, make sure you go to where the elevator shaft continues. There should be an antenna right here. Make sure you pop open that compartment and then grab the data log from within. Once you have that, drop back down to the starting area, grab your loadout, and then into the level we go. So once into the combat area, of course, first thing we're always going to be on the lookout for is going to be the campsite. So make sure you get up high and then make sure you pay attention to where it is. Thankfully, now that we have the metal detector, we should be able to sniff it out on our mini map. So do take advantage of that. And then once you do notice it, head in that direction and make sure you grab it. And then we should be off to a pretty good start. Next one up is going to be an antenna data log, so make sure you try to look for another antenna. This one can appear lower, so make sure you drop down, but again, you shouldn't have too much trouble, especially if you have the metal detector at this point. So keep an eye out for that antenna. It does blend into the environment pretty well, so make sure you are vigilant for it. But nonetheless, once you do spot it, make sure you try to navigate how to get up to it if it does spawn a little higher. And then once you are there, do the same thing as you would any antenna. Open up the compartment, and then out comes your next data log. Once you secure this one, the next one is going to be in the secret area, so off to the orange shaded part of the mini map. This is going to require us to head through that locked door where we picked up the shovel, so you should have that one opened already. Make sure you head on inside, and then we're going to then turn to our left. This is going to be facing the entrance to the pit. We're actually not going to head up there. Instead, we're going to take a dip down into this hole, and it should wrap around and then lead us to the next data log. So make sure you grab that, and then we're going to continue on with the normal quarry path. So make sure you don't head up into the pit. We're going to leave the excavation site in its entirety, and then we're just going to keep pushing forward. So this is going to be the room right before the boss room. You're going to have your camp right here. There's going to be a little bit of a light structure right here. You're going to want to jump on top of it, and then directly in the middle is going to be the next collectible. It's going to be a pretty tricky jump since it's so close to the ceiling, so just try to finagle your way through and then grab that collectible. Then you're going to want to grab your loadout, and then you're going to need to defeat the boss, as we're going to need to head to the next level from this path, which is going to be the Aqua Station. So defeat whatever boss you draw, and then make sure you get to Aqua Station, where we're going to have one last level full of collectibles. Alright, on to the Aqua Station. This level is going to have a handful of collectibles. Thankfully, they aren't going to be too well hidden. There's going to be nothing in the starting room, so make sure you just punch your way forward into the combat area. There's going to be no campsite in this combat area, thankfully, so keep pushing forward until you get to the door to the next part, which is going to be the safe room. Before you step through that, you're going to want to look up to the right corner right here. This is going to be the shortcut that you would take to get to the Waste Gardens. You're going to need to head up there. Make sure you don't actually go through that shortcut. Instead, you're just going to want to hang out outside. And then right next to the door is going to be the data log right here on this workbench. So make sure you pick that one up, and then make sure you return to your normal level, which is going to be Aqua Station. So make sure you don't step through that door. Get back to the level and make sure you get through to the safe room. Once you are in here, there's going to be a couple of collectibles in the safe room. Grab your loadout as you normally would, and then right here, directly in the middle, is going to be a data log. It should be behind the block of ice that we melted in order to free this NPC to grab another one of the gadgets, but this collectible should always be out here in the open, so feel free to grab it whenever you are here. Once you have that, make sure you head up the stairs, and then we're going to wrap around to the right. This is going to lead to the entrance of the fusion core. We're not going to go that way. Instead, we're going to turn around and then use this elevated height to jump onto these pipes right here. This is going to lead to this alcove up here, where you'll find the next collectible on this crate. So once we have that, again, we're going to avoid going to the fusion core. We're just going to continue the normal path forward through Aqua Station. So head into this door. Make sure you get past the first combat zone right here. And then once you get to this area, you should be in the horde mode zone. Now, interestingly enough, this is going to be the only horde mode zone in the game that contains a collectible. So you're going to want to look around the top perimeter, and then you're going to notice the campsite is actually in the horde mode zone instead of the combat zone. So make sure you do take care of this and then get back to fighting. So once you have that, make sure you clear out the horde mode zone, and then that should give you access to the next room. This is going to be the room right before the level exit. The last collectible is going to be right next to the exit door on the left. So clear things out the best you can, and then before you leave, turn to the left Make sure you grab the collectible, which is not only going to wrap up Aqua Station, but also this run. So make sure you either restart the game or make sure you return to base camp and then do a fresh run. We're almost done. We just need to grab the 2 annoying ones that we saved for now. So these are both going to require the shovel, and it's going to be highly recommended that you have the metal detector. So once you have both of those, make sure you grab your loadout. We're going to head on over to the safe room in Canyons, and then we're going to grab our loadout here. Then we're going to need to choose our path. We're always going to go with the Oasis path, as the next collectible is going to be in Oasis. This one is always going to be in the first combat area, so make sure you grab your loadout and then head on over there. Now, the collectible is going to be a dig site, so that's going to be why we brought the shovel this far. So we are going to have to look for it. Thankfully, using the metal detector is going to allow us to sniff it out using our mini-map. So make sure you just pay attention to your mini-map and then be on the lookout for where the collectible is. Now, unfortunately, the way the game works is because the levels are going to be randomly generated, there is going to be a chance that the dig site is going to appear out of bounds. If that's going to be the case, there's going to be no way to reach it. So unfortunately, you are going to have to restart the run and then try again. So if that happens to you, just make sure you restart the run, grab the shovel and make it all the way back here, and then hopefully your luck holds out where the dig site is going to appear where you can actually dig it up. Once you do, you should be able to grab the data log, and then we are going to have to do this for the next level in the form of fields. So make sure you get through the rest of Oasis, make sure you beat the boss, and then get to fields as your level 3. Then we're going to do the same thing, get to the first combat zone, and make sure you use the metal detector and your mini-map to try to spot it out. Use your shovel, dig it up, and then hopefully you should be able to grab the collectible. If it's out of bounds, you are going to have to restart the run, unfortunately. But nonetheless, if you can be lucky and then pull off both dig sites, you should be good for the achievement, assuming you have the other data logs. So that should be all 51 right here. There's going to be the achievement. It's going to be for 20 gamer score, and that's all there is to it.